What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to vinyl wrap the front fender on an Audi A4 using CKWraps Super Gloss HD khaki green film. Remarkable as far as the finish goes, extremely high gloss, very unique color. The hood is already done, we're moving on to the fender. Highly recommend that you keep your film running directionally around the vehicle. This means that we keep the roll standing in the same position and essentially wrap around the vehicle from the beginning position, come all the way around again to the beginning, to the start position. So the end position will end up at your start position. So if we start at the fender, we're gonna wrap all the way around, come around from the bumper to the fender, and our roll should be standing the same direction the entire time. We don't want to flip a panel. If you flip a door or a fender and everything else is running a different direction or one direction, you could see a variance in the color or shade. So to avoid that from happening, there's no guarantee that's gonna happen. I'm just saying, to avoid that from happening, it's typically best to run everything as directionally as possible. This front fender, we're gonna start off with the length, end to end, from here to about that corner right there is about 45 inches, maybe a little bit more. We'll cut the length of the fender about 48 inches. Let's measure the height. If the height is less than 30 inches from top to bottom, we can get away with cutting just the length and then getting two fenders out of one cut. It's not always possible, but sometimes it is, so let's check it out. Bottom, it's just a little over 30 inches. That being said, it doesn't give us a lot of room to work with. So we're going to cut into the roll twice for the fender on each side of the vehicle because we need to leave ourselves, with at least an inch on the top and the bottom as extra. So if this fender was 28 inches, I could probably get away with it, but the fact that it's really close to 30, we're not going to attempt it. It's not worth it because it's going to really make things difficult to position the film properly and perfectly. On top of that, we've prepped the surface of this panel already. This is an older vehicle, it's 2010, so condition is not great as it is, but after the wrap, it's going to be entirely revitalized. It's going to look like it has a fresh new paint job. Wipe the surface down with isopropyl alcohol. I highly recommend using a clay bar to strip the surface of other contaminants like bugs, tree sap, and so forth. That's going to ensure that you don't have any particles underneath your wrap. Stone chips and things like that, you can't avoid unless you fill them in. So that being said, that's totally up to you if you want to do that. This front fender doesn't have really any stone chips on it. There's one really small one somewhere. I saw it right up top right there. It's more on the edge there. But there are other imperfections in it, like scratches and stuff like that, and the film will fill that in. Let's grab our piece of vinyl, and let's go cut our piece of vinyl, and then bring it over to the panel, and then let's wrap it. Let's do it. Okay, here's my piece of film. This is 60 inches long, so it's longer than I need it to be, and it's 36 inches tall. Sorry, 33 inches tall. It's fine, gives us extra to play around with. We're going to just remove that tape measure out of the way. We're going to use our magnets, and we're going to stick the film to the vehicle, basically, like just rest it there. Let's unroll that. Perfect. It's not a bad idea sometimes to use a little bit of compressed air to make sure you blow away any loose debris or contaminants. Cleaning all the cracks and the crevices, also extremely important. Now, because I have a lot of extra film, I'm about an inch past this corner here, which is the furthest point, and I'm plenty past the front edge. We're gonna cut off some of the front. So let's do that. The front corner is right there. I'm going to trim that back to about there. Good for door handles, maybe an inlay setup. And then we're going to now trim out the excess film in the wheel well area. We don't want to leave this on because this is going to cause more resistance. So let's find, this is where the bumper meets the fender. Let's come underneath that. And this will help reduce the amount of film that we have to pull or stretch. That piece right there, it's going to be perfect for mirrors or inlays also. I'm going to bring the camera in to give you guys a better point of view on what's happening. All right, let's remove the protective cap. So this film comes with a protective cap. That's that section right there. I highly recommend removing that prior to removing the release liner. You can do it either way, whatever you're comfortable with, but it's usually best to remove it beforehand. it's gonna, see the static? It's going to draw itself in. So you're gonna wanna make sure that you've removed as much debris as possible. If I remove this magnet right here and this one here, the film probably won't even move. So there's no magnets holding the film on the vehicle right now. That's how much static was created by simply removing that plastic cap. Use your magnets. What I recommend doing now is, you can do this in two ways. You can do it the same way as I did the hood, but since this fender isn't terribly complex, it's fairly flat, it's fairly straight up and down, and we have gravity in this case working for us, I'm going to remove the release liner entirely. You can do it the other way, where you remove part of the release liner, and that might help you as far as being able to install it goes. But I find for myself that this is much easier and an effective way of wrapping the panel. What I'll do is just remove part of that, and then I'm going to somewhat pull that a little bit tight, but not too tight. And we're going to just leave that there, and we'll anchor it to the hood and the bumper for now. We want to try to keep this as flat as possible when we remove the release liner. So the release liner is the PET, is the plastic cap that's on the back. So we want to try to keep this as smooth as possible. And then right now, right off the bat, I'm just going to pull that back one time right here. Watch this. Okay, just a bit. Pull that nice and tight, and it's extremely pliable, this film, okay? Without any heat. Didn't need any heat to do that. What I like to do now is I'm going to hold it, as you can see. We're going to pop this area up, and we're going to pull this area tight and down. This prevents the film from touching before I want it to touch. And again, we have, in this case, gravity working for us, which makes a big, big difference. Now, there is a recess in this area here. I'm going to hold the film right now. I'm going to put my glove on, and my glove on with one hand. You can choose whatever glove you like as far as the installation goes, whatever you're comfortable with. Oh, almost got it, there we go. And we're going to take this, and we're going to start in the recess and smooth this area out. Now, if you want to avoid swirl marks and so forth, I highly recommend, you use a little bit of soapy water or something on the film. It's gonna help reduce your swirl marks. We're gonna come through here. And again, you can see I haven't moved my left hand yet, keeping tension on the film. Come through here, and we're going to squeegee right in here. Okay, this is going to get all of this area done. Watch how fast this goes. Okay, now that we're down here, we really have gravity working for us, because the film isn't really going to touch anything until we make it touch. It is kind of touching areas, but also not touching too many areas. Down here, extremely easy. I'm just going to let that sit there. Let's move over to this front section here. I have a bubble. To release that bubble, I can see that I just need to open up this end right here. Just this little bit right there. We're good. This should allow the air out. We take our time, and that air is going to come right out. Amazing. Look how easy that was. Okay. Barely move this film. Let's pull this one wrinkle out. That was my fault for causing that. That's okay. Good. Right now the film is nice and tight across the panel. We'll worry about that lower section afterwards. It's the easier part. Let's continue to work the top section here. We're going to pull out some of these wrinkles and bring them to the top edge. The reason why we want to pull the film tight initially across the panel is because that's going to eliminate a lot of slack. And then right now, I've also wrapped the corner at the same time, just by pulling it out to the corner. Over here, again, we're just going to finish that up. Super easy, right? Pop that up, and we're going to come right up to the very top, and that's it. I don't need a lot of extra film. As far as the top section goes, we've got plenty of coverage. This fender is basically wrapped. All I have to do is this lower section here. We'll make sure that we've gone through this area here and eliminated any air that might have been in that area. And then here, just gonna lift the film up very gently like that, squeegee it down really nicely. Try to stay out of your way. And be thorough. If you get some wrinkles, you can always heat them out. Probably won't need to though, it's my guess. Beautiful. Look how easy it was to wrap that fender. Go across the bottom here. There we go. All right, before we do anything else next, I'm gonna add some heat to some areas just to show you what I'm gonna do with that. We're going to smooth out our edges and some of the spacing like between the door here. Also, what we're doing is we're somewhat pre-shrinking the film, so that's gonna help tighten things up. Normally the film is best, it's best to pre-shrink the film while it's elevated off of the surface, but either way, this is still going to help. Good, that makes that cut nice and straight and smooth, and same thing with the bottom right here, nice and straight and smooth. Let's see what's going on here. So we have some wrinkles just sitting right there. Let's just heat it. You're gonna see the film shrink, and that's gonna go. I'm not stretching the film down, right? I'm just gonna use my finger and gently bring the film down to the edge between the fender and the bumper. Top edge right here, let's do the same thing. It's already smooth, but we're just gonna pre-shrink it. I heated it too much and my finger with the glove on dragged, so I caused some wrinkles, so let's just heat that again. Can happen, so just lift it, heat it, let it shrink back to normal, and then go over it again. We're already past the edge, so we don't really have to worry about compromising the finish at this point. It's not gonna be compromised, but we still want our edges to be wrinkle-free and nice and smooth. We're going to cut and leave ourselves about 1 inch. It'll be more than enough to roll in there. Something like that. We're cutting this away because it's less resistance to stretch all this vinyl in, or sorry, less vinyl in. It's more resistance to stretch all this vinyl in than it is that vinyl. And then I'm gonna start my cut from the top and work my way down, but not all the way from the very top, just about 2 or 3 inches shy of the very top. And we're running our knife down the door side. There we go. Bring that up. As I get to here, I'm gonna put my finger here and stop, and then I'm gonna cut out the excess film this way. I'm gonna cut across here, and I've put tape there just in case. Follow the line. Cool, let's get rid of that. I'm going to put the film down and around the corner while it's cold, so I haven't stretched this right. And because of the film being a polymeric, it will shrink a bit, and a lot of films will shrink anyways. It doesn't matter so much if it's a polymeric or not, but the polymeric does a great job of shrinking, and we use that ability to aid us in doing these super nice and tight corners. So there we go. Heat it up really nicely, done. Now I'll continue to finish that corner off and I'm also gonna lift from here and make sure that I'm not adding stretch or tension to the corner, to the edge of that corner. Okay. Same thing up here. Let's get this one down cold right there. I'll show you what we're gonna do there in a second. Let's get this one down cold as well. And then we're just gonna heat them and they're gonna shrink down and around those corners. If we have too much film, we can always trim it away. So that's one thing to also keep in mind. Don't stress yourself out. Having too much film is better than having too little film. Okay, right here on this body line right here, we're gonna heat it. See it shrink down? Perfect. And then roll that edge over. That body line is more likely to crease because of this area here. The film will bunch up and it will crease. The same thing with this one down here. So let's do that, heat that, and it just rolls itself around. This is the beauty with a polymeric, okay? Polymerics are really nice to use in that sense, and once you understand how they work, they're golden. They're just really nice to use. Here, I'm gonna cut in and behind that corner as much as I can. Perfect. And then down here, we should be good to go. Beauty. My suggestion here next is to trim this area off before doing the wheel well area. Just like I did the bottom over there where it meets the rocker panel, well, we're gonna do the same thing here. So we're gonna lift off of the tape, and then we're gonna pre-shrink the film, okay? This is, again, critical and super important. This front fender and bumper sit extremely tight together, okay? Unless we remove the front bumper and the headlights, we're not gonna be able to tuck the film in. And even if you can tuck the film in, when it's sitting this tight, that's gonna be problematic because if you roll over two edges of film and they touch each other, that can cause, there's friction between the bumper and the fender, and that can cause twisting or wrinkling of the film. So sometimes cutting it very precisely is important, and you need to know how to do that. So pre-shrinking the film, that is the goal there. Okay? That is the object of the game. With polymerics, you just use that pre-shrinking ability to help you. Now I'm using my nice little tucking tool here. Use one of your choice, and that's going to allow us to tuck the film in there as much as we can without removing the bumper or the headlight. At this point right here, I'm going to start my cut something like this, but I'm going to come out and then I'm going to come down a bit like that. Why did I come down like this? Because I wanted to make sure that when I push this corner in, that it actually covers the rest of the fender. Now in here, we don't have a lot of knife in there, or not a lot of our blade in there. It's very, very minor. We take our time and we cut. Same thing over here. Come down and around. Take your time. Double checking and triple checking the coverage that you have is very important. Now right here, I'm going to trim this off because the actual headlight area recesses a little bit more than the bumper to fender. So the bumper to fender here sits pretty flush, while the headlight actually sits a little bit more in. So I stopped, and I'm going to remove that piece right at this point where the bumper ends, and then I'm going to tuck in more film like this. Heat it, and then I'm going to use my squeegee, my actual squeegee, and I'm going to tuck more of that film in there like that. Now it goes in quite a bit further compared to this area here. And then we're also now going to get in there with our tucking tool. We're going to now work our way around this corner here as nicely as possible. And then I'm going to lift, always lifting off, making sure that I'm not adding or compounding any tension in these areas here. I'm lifting off that tape. You're going to notice right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this area from here down to here, and then I'm going to work the top section afterwards. Too much knife right there. There we go. Look how close I'm looking at this. Try to make sure that I'm getting maximum coverage. The only way to get more coverage is to actually remove these areas, the bumper and the headlight, out of the way. It's perfect right now though, so just keep that in mind. What I want to make sure is that I can't see any red from this perspective or from this side. Underneath, if you happen to see some, it's not going to make that much of a difference. I mean, the only person who's going to see that is someone who's either changing the tires, like a mechanic, so forth. Now there's a carpet liner in here, which makes things a little bit more challenging. Again, you can remove that if you want to. You're going to hear me kind of grazing my knife against it. It is what it is. It's just a carpet liner. I'm not going to damage it. It gets kicked up with stones at 100 miles an hour or faster. Depending on how some people drive. And then I'm running my knife on the inside edge all the way down and out. Perfect. That's pretty much it for the front fender wrap on this Audi A4 using CKWraps Super Gloss HD khaki green. Super easy to use. If you know what you're doing, you use the polymeric capabilities to make the job easier. As far as doing corners goes, it's so easy. Showed you how to do that today. I look forward to doing more videos for you. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Take care.